It'll make you laugh. It'll upset you. But most importantly, it'll make you think. This is Dogma Debate with David Smalley.
Damn, that was hitting hard. That was crazy.
You can't distort. You can distort that mic.
Today is Wednesday, January 13th, 2016. This is Dogma Debate. I'm your host, David Smalley. Today's going to be a great show. Yes, the title is right. You didn't misunderstand. This is Libertarian, Atheist, and a Christian secular leader. What the hell are you talking about, David? Yeah, I know. We're going to get to that, and we're going to explain it all. We have a lot of things to get to. We're going to be talking with, in just a moment, the new Executive Director of Secular Coalition for America, Larry Decker. Stick around for that. We're going to have a segment for Fact Check Yo Mama. Donovan, this is a special science.
You got it. Science section.
Special science edition of Fact Check Yo Mama. And then we're going to get into libertarian basics. So many times people have accused me, and I'm not saying accused as though it's a bad thing. You get accused of being a burglar. I got accused of being a libertarian multiple times. We're going to find out if I am. We have a libertarian who's a fourth listener in studio. We're going to talk to him and find out exactly what it means to be libertarian. And, you know, am I there? Am I not? Where do I differ from this guy? Do I at all? And are you libertarian? Undercover and not wanting to tell anybody. We're going to get to that. We're going to talk about religious liberties. We're going to talk about how libertarians kind of believe this let the market decide type thing. Then I've got some questions about Rand Paul that's going to be unfair to him. So we're going to get into all of that. But before we do, I have Brandy in studio right now. Hi, Brandy.
Hey.
So we're doing this GoFundMe thing right now for the tornado victims. We're closing it out soon. This Sunday is going to be the last time we take any physical donations, any monetary donations. Talk a little bit about what we've done so far and where the money's going. Like, I know you can't say names, but talk about some of the families that we've been able to help for just a second.
Yeah, well, today I was able to go out to a place over in Rowlett where a young lady, basically, her house is ruined and she's had to move. I guess my whole goal there was to deliver boxes, but while I was there delivering boxes, I realized that she was in much more need of she was in much more need other than the boxes. And basically all of her children, she has 4 children, ranging from ages 9 to 6 months old, and all of them, don't have any shoes to wear. They were all not salvageable, in the tornado. It mainly hit her daughter's room, so the twin bed in her daughter's room, couldn't be saved. So I was able to, with the GoFundMe money, give her a gift card, a Visa gift card for $300 to, go buy her 4 children's shoes and maybe not the bed, but at least something towards it.
Yeah, so a huge thank you to all of you that have given to the GoFundMe, because this is what we're doing. Instead of just giving the money to the Red Cross or giving the money to an individual organization, we're actually finding real people that need real stuff, and we're talking to them directly and saying, what do you need? And so Brandy was able to do that today. And we have someone else that actually made the news here that we'll just wrap up real quick in the final few seconds here, where she lost everything as well, and they're looking for a place to rent now.
Yeah, she lived in a rental home over in Rowlett as well. She has 2 young boys, and she actually just was released from the hospital today because she had her new baby girl. And with some of the donation money that was donated to me, I was able to buy her a brand new car seat for her new baby. And I got an Xbox donated today that awesome. She had told me at the beginning, that her boys, they only could think about, their Xbox and their TV. And
it's funny what's important to kids in a disaster.
Exactly. And so I thought it was funny because some random person showed up today with a big bag of Xbox and games, and I was so like, cool. Oh my gosh, I know exactly who this is going to. And so she was really thankful for that.
And
so,
we took in a lot of physical donations of diapers and bottles and all sorts of formula even.
Yep.
And she's gotten all that stuff too already. So yeah, Sunday's the last time we're doing this. We've got to shut it down. And but that money's still going out to those folks, and we may end up. We don't know what we're going to do yet for her, so let's not say anything on air. But some more of that money is about to be used, I think, to help that family out.
Yeah, and really quick, just to touch on the last 3 families that we were able to help with the GoFundMe money. There were 21 staff members with Mesquite ISD, current and former retired, that were affected by the tornado. 2 of them were majorly affected, which means that they can't live in their homes. And we were able to give them each a $250 Visa gift card to help pay for out to eat and stuff like that when they're in a hotel and staying with friends.
Yeah, because if they don't have a home, they don't have a refrigerator. So
Right.
buying them groceries is pointless. They have nowhere to put it.
Well, and also giving them donations is kind of, that doesn't really help because they don't have a place to put it. So giving them physical items is not always necessary.
Right.
So being able to do that was really cool. And then the third person that we were able to help with the Visa gift card from the GoFundMe money so far was a police officer who, his roof blew off and his kids' toys in the backyard were a complete loss. And he did not put his name on the list. But I thought that was so awesome, you know.
He didn't want to put his name on the list because he didn't want other people to be. He didn't want to be helped over other people.
Right.
So even in the middle of a disaster, he has that police officer mentality of, I don't, save others, I'll suffer.
Exactly. So we were able to give him a $100 gift card to help him out to replace some of those things that he lost as well.
Awesome.
So thank you to everyone that has given donations, shared the post, given money to help me to be able to do this, and stop thanking us because this is you guys, this is all Fourth listeners, the secular community.
Absolutely.
And I always let them know exactly who it's coming from so they know. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you, Brandy, for that quick update. We appreciate it. I want to move on to our guest now. He is the brand new executive director of the Secular Coalition for America. Please join me in welcoming Larry Decker to Dogma Debate. It's his first time ever on the show. Larry, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm so glad to have you on the show. This is all brand new and exciting. It's all brand new stuff that you've popped onto the scene. Welcome, by the way, to our wonderful community.
Thank you. And I was actually going to thank you and Brandy for what you're doing to help aid the survivors of the tornadoes in Texas. But she just told me not to say thank you, so I guess I can't. Congratulations, maybe.
Well, what she's talking about is so many times people say, "Oh, thank you so much for what you're doing," and we go, "Well, it's really you guys. I mean, we're just kind of a conduit to bring all these people together, and then we're finding the people in need, and it's a big community effort. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun being able to help these people. I mean, this thing hit. We went to the county appraisal map and actually measured how far away it was from our house, and it was just over half a mile. It was about 3,000 feet from my driveway was the closest completely destroyed home. So,
wow,
it was very, very close to home. So our graphic designer was drastically affected. Her car was destroyed. Her apartments are being condemned. I mean, everybody close to us in one way or another has been affected. So this one literally hit close to home.
Yes.
So people in the chat room have already gotten an email from you. So I guess you're getting the word out already.
Yeah, he's talking about you, Larry.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, people in our chat room have already gotten word from you. So this hit the news, I guess, yesterday is when the release went out.
That's correct.
That you are now the executive director of the Secular Coalition for America. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I'm delighted and very honored to be here.
So let's talk about a little bit of that. So talk a little bit about your background and I guess what made you qualified to take over Secular Coalition.
Sure. I've been in D.C. for about 20 years. Like a lot of people, I came down here to do an internship on Capitol Hill and was offered a job and ended up staying. I always wanted to be here, actually, and it was a great opportunity. Over the past 20 years, I've served under President Bill Clinton at the White House in the Department of the Treasury, I have worked for a number of nonprofits, for private corporations, as an advocate, a lobbyist, and also a great deal of management in the nonprofit world. I spent nearly 8 years at the American Red Cross, the first four and a half of which I served as our chief congressional lobbyist during the largest international and domestic disasters in our history. And then in a more operational and managerial role as Director of Government Operations, where I was responsible for all of the relationships between our federal agencies and state and local emergency management.
Very cool. Sounds like a lot of experience there packed into such a young man. What, you got to be in your 20s, right?
I turned 40 in May.
Wow. Interesting. So I did get a message from one of our favorite human beings on the planet, Kelly Damerow. She's joined me on the show several times, and her message to me was, I just wanted to let you know I fully support SCA's new executive director. He's got such a good background in oversight and transparency, as well as some serious lobbying skills. He's just what we need. Have a great show. So you definitely have her endorsement, and with her on your side, I don't know that you can go wrong. How do you feel about that one?
I feel great, actually, and I have to say about the entire staff here. The staff was part of the interview process, and that really mattered to me. It was important to me that I had an opportunity to meet with them. They had an opportunity to get to know me a little bit and ask me questions. I was a little bit more nervous, quite frankly, talking to the staff, the individuals who are doing the work every single day to make this organization move and work well and to support the movement. I was a little bit more nervous talking to them in my initial interview than I was with the search committee. But I'm so impressed with the amount of work that they do. Kelly and the entire team here has been so supportive in the 2 weeks that I've been in the office now, and they really are absolutely committed individuals, among the most committed folks that I have had the pleasure of working with in DC.
Excellent. Now you have a little bit of a dirty secret, and we're going to expose you today on Dogma Debate.
Uh-oh.
So what a lot of people, and I saw it already floating all the way around Facebook, so I don't know that it's a secret, but it does make for an interesting conversation. You are now the executive director of the Secular Coalition for America, yet you are an unaffiliated Christian.
Yes, I am.
How does that work out? It's really interesting to me. I know that SCA is about separation of church and state. It's not an atheist organization, and there are plenty of people who tend to say they have a faith, yet they are secular in nature when it comes to politics and government and things. It's just very interesting that now you are leading the Secular Coalition for America. So how do you think your faith plays a role in this?
Well, I don't think it does. We have two parts of our mission. The first is certainly to advocate and protect and strengthen the secular character of our government as the best guarantee for freedom. And then the second, of course, is to increase the visibility and respect for non-theists, atheists, humanists, agnostics, and others in this movement, to both increase the visibility and the respect, but also the acceptance for. And that equally drew me to this job, quite frankly. My faith will have no bearing on my role in this organization and in the movement. And in fact, I've been joking with a few people. I said, I am, in fact, very unaffiliated. I can't stress the unaffiliated part enough. And so over the course of the past couple of weeks, as we've been talking about this, I keep saying, I don't think I've ever been more confused about my identity than I am today. So I'm happy to talk about it, though, because it's a really important question to ask. Can someone who does not identify as a non-theist represent non-theistic viewpoints in this country? And I truly believe that I can. One of the things I've also been very open about and proudly open about is being gay. And, I certainly have experienced throughout my life. The very simple idea that people who have never met me before, who've never had an opportunity to see my character, are willing to strip me of my constitutionally protected rights and civil liberties simply because of their view on faith. It has no place in our society. It certainly has no place under our Constitution. And I am beyond proud of being able to be here and fighting for this and for the individual freedoms of underrepresented people in this country.
Man, I mean, it's either going to be very, very powerful or very, very difficult to move forward. I mean, just frankly speaking, I mean, it's either the greatest thing in the world or it's going to be a huge uphill climb for you. And I'm sure you've thought about both possibilities. I mean,
absolutely.
You could have it to where, it's great that you're an unaffiliated Christian, but you support the separation of church and state. So now it's not an atheist saying, hey, leave my government alone. It's a Christian telling other Christians, be a Christian, but leave your faith out of the government. That could be huge, but it could potentially create issues for largely supported by the atheist community, like the SCA is. A lot of atheists could go, I don't want to support an organization that's run by a Christian. I don't trust them now. And,
sure.
And as part of my job as being a broadcaster and someone who's deeply involved in the secular community and the atheist communities alike, it's, it is my job oftentimes to have difficult conversations and to ask things of my guests that may be uncomfortable. But I have to do this. I mean, as I was getting prepared for our conversation, I wrote a couple of things down. A couple of things were, okay, how, your faith isn't really anybody's business, but how...
David, could I interrupt just for 1 second?
Sure.
And I want to define it just a little bit. I was raised Christian, and I grew up in a Christian home. I think many people who would call themselves non-theists today probably were raised Christian or raised in some sort of a religious setting. So there is that. I walked away from the church, though, because I can't reconcile my values with traditional Christianity. It just doesn't fit. And including, things like a directive deity. For me, it doesn't meld. I certainly don't want to talk about my quote unquote faith. That's not why I came to the Secular Coalition. But I do, again, appreciate and recognize and understand the comments that, individuals have been posting on Facebook and Twitter and in other places. They have absolutely every single right. And I had every absolute expectation that they would question that. And again, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to.
No. That's fair. That's fair, Larry. And I think, and that kind of goes in line with what I was about to say, is people are going to be concerned. People are going to be skeptic. And so I absolutely adore the Secular Coalition for America. We have you guys on the show every week, almost every week. We talk about the issues. We urge people to sign up at secular.org so they can get the email action alerts. I think it's a wonderful thing that I can now, you've put me in touch with my own representative, and you're in D.C. I mean, that's amazing. The system you guys have, you allow me to easily contact my representatives to actually make change. And Kelly has come on the show multiple times. Casey has come on the show multiple times. We've actually seen a difference in before she comes on the show or before Casey comes on the show. We do a push for a couple of weeks. We've actually seen bills stop because people get active, and that's what we absolutely love. So I love the SCA, but I do understand, too, how people in the secular community have trust concerns, because a while back, when the SCA announced that they were hiring a Republican executive director in Edwina Rogers, a lot of red flags went up, and people went, wait a minute, I'm not sure how we feel about this. And, well, the way that turned out is she's no longer with the organization. There were rumors of embezzlement. She's gone, and we haven't really heard anything back from you guys. I'm assuming you can't talk much about that, but we haven't heard much back from that. And some of the feedback I'm getting, just to push back a little, is people emailing and calling and texting going, who is this guy? What is the SCA doing? How can we trust them? And I'll name one person individually. I got a phone call just before the show from Matt Dillahunty. He's like, hey, man, I'm just curious, if you want to throw this out there. And I said, look, I've got a lot of people with concerns. I'm willing to ask Larry what's on your mind. He said, I just want to know how the SCA is building trust. To me, I hope he's successful. I hope that they're able to do what they want to do. But to me, it feels like they just threw us somebody new again. And I hope he can be successful, but I'm wondering why they didn't select someone that already had a following or trust within the movement. So that challenge is on you, and I want to give you this platform to address that. You know, what's going on with the litigation side of it? Can you talk anything about how we can clear up the embezzlement rumors? Or, you know, just flat out tell me, you know, the comment, they've thrown us somebody new again. Who are you? You know, what can you do, and how do we know we can trust SCA moving forward?
Absolutely, and thank you for that. You're 100% right about not being able to talk about the litigation. I'm legally bound. I'm not allowed to talk about that, and I recognize that to a lot of people that just sounds like a line. In fact, it's not. But I do want to talk about the trust factor a little bit, and this organization. You know, we just had a board meeting this past weekend, and in preparation for that board meeting, the staff had prepared all of these things that they had been working on for the year 2015. It was astonishing, the amount of work that the staff has done. And I know that I already, talked about that to a degree, but when I think about there being 6 people working in this office with a fairly modest budget, and I'm listening to the amount of things that are produced, 45,000 letters to representatives this year. A lot of that, through our Action Alert Network and all of that sort of stuff. And, quite frankly, a lot of that is also you and allowing SCA to be on your show. So I thank you for that. I think it's absolutely wonderful. But to the point, though, on trust, this is something, this process took a long time. I don't think that I've spent more time interviewing for a job than I have for this job. And it was twofold. It was, both the board recognizing, that it was so important to get it right this time. And, so there's that part, but it was also me recognizing that there were parts of my life that would become very public. Me having to talk about, certain things about myself and, my faith, for instance, something I've never really talked about publicly, and I've never had a reason to. There was a lot of due diligence, and I think that I feel completely confident in being in this role and in coming into this movement. I feel confident in the conversations that I've had with our board of directors and that I've had with other leaders in the movement. That this is all a good thing. The last thing I would ever say to your listeners is, as a new person in the movement, is trust me. I hope that I can prove over time, though, that I can be trusted, and that we're going to grow the organization the way that will make a lot of people proud, and that will really help to move the needle in this country on the issues that are so incredibly important to me. Lastly, one of the things that I've done throughout my career has been a very strong commitment to nonprofit management and governance, transparency, accountability. I've done a lot of work, quite frankly, on that. And that's something I really want to bring to this organization as well. I want to make sure that we have an annual report that all of our that anyone who wants to read it has access to. It should be on our website, should be publicly posted. I want to make sure that there's transparency in our financials. Our 990s are on the website every year, and that we have an open dialogue. We are part of the public trust in many ways. We rely on contributions from individuals. We rely on people supporting us, not just monetarily, but through their time and through their talents and through their own passion for the movement. So, I want to build on the great things that have happened. And to that, really help to share with people who I am, who we are, what it is we're trying to do, and that we welcome them to be a very large part of all of that process.
So what is the SCA's mission?
I was just taking a drink of water. My apologies.
Nope, I should ask longer questions.
The mission of the Secular Coalition is again to increase the visibility of and respect for non-theistic viewpoints in the United States. That's part one. Part two is to protect and strengthen the secular character of our government as the best guarantee for freedom for all.
So when the Pew poll research stuff comes out, you actually mark as a nun. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, just good point.
Oh, interesting, Donovan. Okay. Because you're not affiliated.
Because I'm not affiliated, right? And there's a very large spectrum in that 23%, and I think it's important for all of us to talk about it. One of the ways that I think that we can be so absolutely successful in moving the needle is that respect component, and that understanding that there's a lot of diversity within our movement, including in some of our own belief structures and belief systems. Mine, for instance, has evolved since the first time I can remember being at church. And I can remember, very clearly walking away from a lot of this, thinking to myself, I don't get that. I don't understand that. I do believe in science. I do believe in religion. I believe in science. I believe in evolution. I believe in reason. And yet I was raised Christian. And to me, there's no incompatibility there. I think that we have an opportunity truly to bring more people into this movement that have either never been invited into the movement or that have never had a reason, quite frankly, to even think about these issues. And I'm looking forward to doing that and working with our member organizations in a way that we can be effective.
Just like I told Reverend Barry Lynn when he came on the show from Americans United, this show is called Dogma Debate. I love to have people on to debate issues and to talk about their faith and why I should have their faith and things like that, and to have them present evidence and for me to present evidence. I love that. It's what I love doing for a living. But I think there are some people in certain positions who are allies where the debate's just not necessary. To me, you, just like Barry Lynn, you identify with your own faith, but that doesn't define who you are, right? You identify with it, but it doesn't identify you, right? It doesn't claim who you actually are as an individual.
That's right.
And so I think in a lot of meetings, it could actually be helpful if you're lobbying our Congress and you're lobbying our representatives, and they know that you are a believer, yet you still support keeping religion out of government. I think that could actually be helpful. So I'm not really interested in debating you about why you have your faith. I think you'll work through that on your own time. I'm glad to have you as an ally. I'm glad that you're here as part of Secular Coalition for America, and I'm hoping you can join us more often on the show to give us updates along with Casey and maybe even Kelly if she still likes us.
I'd be delighted to, and I know Kelly does still like you. Thank you so much for having me. I really
you haven't talked to her after this interview yet. You don't know.
That's true. Maybe it will be me she doesn't like after the interview. I hope not, though.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on. You're welcome anytime on the show, Larry. Congratulations on your new position. I'm looking forward to it. Let us know what we can do to help, because our mission is to cultivate a secular society through entertaining and educating the public. So it sounds like our missions are very close. Let's see how we can work together to make this happen. I'm all about it. So for those interested, go sign up at secular.org, receive those email action alerts, and visit their page, read about them, read about Larry, and let's get behind the organization because they're fighting for the secularity of everybody. Thank you so much, Larry, for joining us.
Thank you, David. Take care.
All right, take care. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Decker of the Secular Coalition for America. Y'all ready to fact-check your mamas? Ready? I'm not even going to take a break. I want to get right into fact-checking.
All those years of great advice and sweet, sweet lies. It's time to fact-check your mama.
Fact-check your mama. Mama.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex. So before we get into this, I want to go ahead and introduce our guest here. Do you want to use your last name?
That's fine.
Is that cool too? Okay, I wasn't sure. Daniel Kidd, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel, you've been a listener for quite some time, right?
Probably about 3 years.
3 years. You're a true fourth listener, man, because we just started. We're now 4 years old. So, yeah.
This is your 4th year. I did the math for you.
Fourth, yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
You know what? It's also, I started it right around my birthday. And my birthday was January 10th. So I just turned a year older, just as Dogma Debate does. Did you know that Cognitive Dissonance does greeting cards?
I did not.
Yeah, apparently they do. I got a card from Brandy and Talissa. The one my son got me, Braden, it was just, he's never given me a serious card in his life. And it was serious and it was just thankful and just really, it was really cool. Brought a tear to my eye. The kid's just growing up so fast. Brandy and Talissa got together on this little goofy card. And I had no idea Cognitive Dissonance did greeting cards. But I have it here. It's one of these, and they even have their picture on the front of it there. See those? You want to turn to my camera here?
Give me just a second. I wasn't prepared for this.
Yeah. Click on this here. See that?
Yeah, they can see it. Hold back a little
that's.
bit.
I think that's Tom right there, and I think that's Cecil right there. So if you're missing video, sign up at login.dogmadebate.com. By the way, the full the full free show ends at the 90-minute mark or around that, and then we go to the extended show at login.dogmadebate.com. So if you're not going to want to miss any of this, sign up. But yeah, I get this card and it says, No, you're not old. Oh. And it's one of those cards where when you open it, it plays music or does something, but it's not playing music. It's basically an episode of Cognitive Dissonance that starts whenever you do. I didn't know these guys did greeting cards, but here's the actual card. I'm going to turn my mic up here so you can hear the card. Let me get it really loud here. Check. Okay, here we go. So this is what happens when you open the Cognitive Dissonance birthday card. I had no idea these guys did this, by the way. It says, no, you're not old. Here we go.
Oh, you're not old. You're not that old. No, there's lots of things older than you. There's a ton of things. Redwood trees, rocks, most of the planets. Did you say Napoleon? Napoleon. Yeah. You're younger than Napoleon. Yeah, compared to him, you're an infant. A baby. We could go on and on and on. Yeah. So let us just say, Happy birthday, you young whippersnapper.
Did you know those guys did greeting cards? I had no idea they did that as a side job.
That's I think you got the right Tom and the right Cecil and the voices. And
they apparently go by the name Hoops and Yo-Yo.
Oh yeah, that's them.
Yeah, hoopsandyoyo.com if you want to check out more.
Yo-Yo doesn't do anything for the show; he just shows up. Yeah, that's him. Yeah,
more of Tom and Cecil's great greeting card work. That's fantastic. Thank you guys for telling me happy birthday. We appreciate it.
That did sound like them.
It's an episode of Cognitive Dissonance, and it's about as long as one too.
Meaning as long as you can listen.
Talk about mailing it in.
By the way, I haven't read these in a while, so hopefully I don't mess up the endings.
Yeah, we're just live on air. It's no big
okay.
deal.
I just want to prep,
So Daniel is our Libertarian Atheist fourth listener friend. So join us for this segment, and then we'll take a break. We come back, we'll get into Libertarian basics and find out if I'm a secret Libertarian, because I don't know, and I have questions for you. Okay?
Time to get out of the closet, David.
Awesome. Yeah, I may be coming out of the Libertarian closet. Let's find that out. Okay, so this special science edition, Donovan, go ahead and start us off.
Well, I read the answers. That's how Fact Check Your Mama works.
Well, I'm new to the show.
I know. I understand that.
I wasn't aware. Usually I have Alex to tell what to do. So this first one here is, there is a scientific method that turns, wait a minute, poisonous venoms into painkillers. Now, hold on. I already have an issue with that because I know there's a difference between poison and venom.
Right. So there's some venom that's just venom and some that's poisonous.
Okay.
These take poisonous venoms.
No. That's not what the difference is. The difference.
Talk directly into that mic right there, buddy.
As close as you can get to it. There you go.
So the difference between poison and venom is, for a poison, if you eat it, it kills you, or if you for a venom, if it bites you, it kills you. Or it hurts.
So there's no such thing as a poisonous snake. Snakes are venomous.
Yes.
So
Okay,
poison. So name something that would be poisonous. Can a scorpion be poisonous because it pokes you with the tail? It doesn't bite you.
Like a plant.
That's venom.
A plant
That's
could be
venom.
poisonous.
Like poison ivy.
Yeah, if you eat a plant that has a poison in it, then it
So it's not venomous ivy.
no.
Mistletoe. Oh, Jesus.
Come on.
Okay, so just say venoms then, since I'm so terrible at my own gig.
Apparently so. We've already.
I'm glad that he's here. To
So
straighten
there's some
me
sort
out.
of scientific method that basically turns venom
Venoms.
into painkiller.
Yeah. Do you believe that one?
I'm going to say no.
I think it's true.
Really?
Because I know that some. Venoms can.
Oh, they can numb you.
There's
true.
nerve. There's venoms that act on the nervous system. And
That's true. Yeah.
That seems plausible.
It could be. I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm not making this up, but it is called toxineering.
Really?
Yeah, for real. I think that's kind of cool.
And they can actually turn venom into painkillers.
Yeah, biologists estimate there are about 173,000 venomous species of lizards, spiders, fish, frogs, even platypuses, brewing varieties of proteins and peptides thought to number in the tens of millions. As of March 2014, researchers have produced no more than 20 medications. One of those is a painkiller called cyanotide, derived from the venom of a tropical sea snail.
Nice.
That was pretty cool.
All right. You're up next. You get to read the dumb one.
See,
Okay.
he only did that because he read the second one. He goes, well, I'll make him do it this time.
Yeah, no, I don't think I could have read the first one. That would have killed me just to say that.
Oh, thanks a lot. I'm so glad he's here. Just like, it's like Alex never left.
So your pee can be used to charge a mobile phone.
God, I'm so glad you just said that into a microphone. Oh, my God. Oh, that is beautiful. Hold on. We're marking
My first
that.
drop already, huh?
Yeah, we're marking that at 36:57 into the show. Here
That's
we go.
also why I read the answers. I don't want to read those. I write those for someone else to get marked out.
All right, let's see. I'm going to say no to that. I'm going to say that's false.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, let's go faster, by the way. 'Cause we gotta
Okay,
get out of this.
true. Bristol scientists were
What?
able to harness this power by having urine pass through a cascade of microbial fuel cells that managed to charge a Samsung mobile phone enough for texting, web browsing, and even one phone
Oh,
call.
that's Samsung. No wonder.
And it's fuel cells.
It's piss anyway. That's why.
Wait, what are you doing? You don't know who your next sponsor is going to be. What are you doing? Have you not learned how to podcast yet?
God, he's got Samsung everything, and he's libertarian. It makes sense. It makes sense.
All right, next one.
Don't worry. When our app comes out on iPhone, it'll also be available for Samsung shortly after, or Android.
You mean Android?
Yeah, but Samsung uses the Android platform.
That's okay. It's Android, though. You didn't want to. It doesn't come out for Samsung.
Look, I just had a Samsung TV given to me for Christmas.
Okay.
I had to take it back.
Why?
It was complete. I couldn't deal with it. It was freezing. It was supposed to be a smart TV. It was freezing up. It was preparing television. Please wait. Preparing television. Please wait. Just locking up all the time. Losing connection to the internet. I had to take it back.
So
But you know what? For the right sponsorship,
Yes.
I could probably fall in love with Samsung all over again.
So the TV had to dumb down to try to help you watch it. Is that what you're saying?
The next one, it says, on Venus, a day lasts 224 Earth days, and a year is 243.
243 Earth days.
I think that's true.
Hold on.
So a day is just under a year on Venus.
I remember learning that before, like when I was a kid. That was
Really?
It was. Yeah,
How is that possible?
It rotates so slowly.
That by the time it does one, it's almost made a full rotation.
It's actually gone. It does make
that
a full
could be true. I'm going to say maybe.
Yep.
What do you think?
That's not one of the answers, David.
I don't
True
want to
or
have to
false?
commit. I'm a skeptic. I'm not going to commit to something until I have all the information.
A Venusian day is actually longer. It's the reverse. It's actually a year is shorter than a
Okay.
day. Pretty cool, though, right?
A year is shorter than a day.
Isn't that kind of cool?
That's what I thought it said. I was flipping the numbers on the page.
Wow.
That's what Alex says when he gets them wrong, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. You go ahead with the next one.
Scientists can turn peanut butter into diamonds.
Oh, Alex, you are so lucky you were here today because I was so going to get you this week.
And it's his dry monotone.
I know.
Scientists can turn peanut butter into diamonds.
That's perfect.
That's so perfect. I can't wait to use all these later. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that's completely false. I think that's crap.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I got you again. German team used a a couple of presses and extreme heat and can take peanut butter to create a diamond. However, so small, it's not a process that can be made to profit much, as it takes a long time to produce. And what they did is they were trying to figure out what it was like in the mantle of the Earth. So they created all this area to try to see what that does. Makes them almost think there might be tons of diamonds deep down in the Earth's...
Or lots of peanut butter.
Lots of peanut butter.
Right?
Right. So anyway, that was a true. That was a true.
I'm going to call mostly true but misleading.
They turned peanut butter into a diamond. What do you want? How does that untrue? How's that mostly true?
How big was the diamond?
It was really small, but it was diamond material when it was done, pressing and heating.
Like tiny, tiny.
Yeah, like I said, they couldn't even profit from it, but they were able to do it just to see what kind of pressure and heat they could create, like in the Earth.
Okay.
And they did it multiple times to prove that they could do it again, so just so you know.
Okay, Daniel, go ahead.
I think it's your turn.
No, I think you can go ahead.
Oh, I think this is David.
Let's just get really quiet. Go ahead, Daniel.
Woodpeckers get concussions when doing their light pole and tree work.
So that's just not wrong. That was for you and Alex. I wrote that just for you. You're so awesome, dude. Thanks for doing these.
Woodpeckers. Let's see. I mean, if they got concussions, they probably wouldn't keep doing it, right? I mean, I don't know. Football players keep playing football. But I don't know how much money is in woodpecking. I don't know that there's anyone offering a $7 million contract to peck wood.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, there's some money in pecking wood, but it's not legal everywhere.
I'm not Alex. I'm sorry. I'm not Alex. I'm not playing 5-year-old games with you, David. What do you think? True or false?
I think it's false.
I'm going to go with true.
David's batting 1,000. It's false.
Okay.
Every time a woodpecker beats its... I should just read it that way again. It was too funny. Every time a woodpecker's beak hits a tree, its head is subject to 1,000 times the force of gravity. We figured out the thick neck muscles diffuse the blow, and a third inner eyelid prevents the bird's eyeballs from popping out, and they do not get concussions while doing that.
Nice.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. The Big Bang Theory was actually first theorized by Edwin Hubble of the Hubble telescope fame. Yes, I'm going to say, first theorized? It depends on what you call theorized, because Edwin Hubble was the one that recognized that our universe was expanding, which suggested that it all came from a single place.
So he may have been the first one to have evidence, right?
I think he discovered that the universe was expanding, or the expansion was accelerating.
Right, exactly. That it was accelerating, which means at one time it suggested. I think someone else probably before him suggested it could have happened, but he was the first one that provided evidence. That's what I'm going with. What say you?
I'll say the same thing. I don't.
It's true. That's exactly right. It was first theorized in 1927 by a Catholic priest, George Lamentier.
Oh no! You know
2 years before Hubble.
You know why I knew that? I'm doing the voiceover right now for Vic Stenger's book, God the Felt Hypothesis, and I just finished that chapter. That's what that was.
You know what? Don't you
No,
guessed
I knew it.
lucky.
No, I didn't, because I had to look up how to pronounce his name. I couldn't pronounce his name.
Yeah, but you didn't think that when you answered. You'd have just told us that was the answer.
Right.
Right. So you guessed lucky.
No, I relied on my information. I just didn't know where the information came from.
Did you take a pill and just opened up all the brain cavities and you were able to recall that?
Can you read the next one, Daniel?
Limitless 2.
Tomatoes have 25% less genes than humans. Should be fewer, not less.
You obviously aren't listening to this show, right?
I'm going to go with true.
Well, if it was grammatically correct, it would be true, maybe.
Did I do it again?
Tomatoes have 25% fewer genes than humans, not less. But that's what he was just saying. It should be fewer.
Don't play it. Don't. Dude, I don't care about your English lesson, okay? I came here to learn about something. True or false, David? That's all anybody cares about.
I'm going to go with true.
Okay, it's false. It's the opposite. Tomatoes have 25% more.
Really?
Yes. Did you also know?
Are you sure? I'm fact checking your fact check.
You should do that because it's exciting to watch you look those things up. Also, did you know that the
All those years of great advice and sweet.
Okay, I was going to do it again. Go ahead.
It's the actually opposite, and so does rice. Rice is also has 25% more than humans. It's kind of a weird thing.
Really? More genes?
Also,
I heard potatoes do too.
Yeah. Also, did you know that some parasitic plants actually share mRNA molecules back and forth with their host plants? And from what I read, this is something extra I did, they are not sure what the purpose of this communication is, but they have this complex communication back and forth between plants. And that's kind of an interesting thing that they're just now getting into. Neat stuff.
Well, take that, vegetarians.
You could be eating things
Something
that are communicating. Wow.
Now what are you going to do?
Oh, my goodness.
What are you going to do
David.
now?
That's just
What are you
mean.
going to do now?
You're going to read the next one.
Sound waves can levitate objects. I'm going to say yes. And the reason I'm going to say that is because I read this book once. No, it's because, I know sound waves can break glass. Mm-hmm. I've seen experiments done where it can cause physical changes to things. So I'm assuming something very small, something very light, like a piece of paper on a massive speaker. I can see that happening. So I don't think that's too far-fetched. I'm going to go with yes, that's possible.
Yeah, I'm going to go with true.
Yeah, did you see the private parts with Howard Stern when he's making the noise and the girl's on the speaker? I think she actually lifted up a little bit. Yeah, I think she actually lifted off her speaker. But it is true, and it even works setting the range out of what humans can hear, so it's not loud to us. When real hoverboards are everywhere using this technology, I wonder what animals will be harmed from the sound. Because the sound would be deafening to us, but other animals or creatures could hear it.
Yeah, can we just all agree to stop calling those little things hoverboards? They're rolling around on wheels.
Yeah, those aren't real hoverboards.
We're calling them hoverboards, and that just pisses me off in general. Just stop calling that. I refuse to call it a hoverboard. I don't give a damn what it says on the box.
It's a skateway, like a Segway, but on two wheels.
It's
like a skateboard.
It's like a Segway with no handlebars.
Skateway.
Yeah, I like that better. I like that better.
Two more.
All right, two more. Let's get in and out of this. We got to go. We got stuff to do.
I think you should read this one, David.
No, I think this is a Daniel thing.
Okay. Daniel, you're just getting killed.
I'll read it. Only. No, I think you should go ahead, Daniel. I really do. I think for Kari's sake and our future song, I think this would be necessary.
I got to get as many drops in as I can while I'm on the show, right?
Only
1% of the volume of a fart is composed of non-smelly gases.
He gets through it without even chuckling.
He does.
That's amazing.
That's great. No, this is gonna be a great song. Kari, get on that. Only 1% of the volume is composed of non-smelly gases.
Yeah.
So that means that 99% is smelly gases. I'm gonna go with false.
Yeah, I'm gonna say false too. I thought it was almost completely methane. Are there multiple gases that come out?
99% is non-smelly. It's only 1% that you're smelling. So just think how much gas is in the air when it's bad. That's just 1% of what came out.
I'm going to start saying that. Like, you think that's bad?
Average human
that
farts.
was the tip of the iceberg, baby.
My God, I feel it in the room. Average human farts a volume of 1 to 3 pints of gas a day.
That is awesome.
I almost did a whole diatribe on farts, but I let it go.
No, that'd be great. We need to do a whole segment on farts.
Last one. This is a cool one.
Okay, this one's always interested me. So, which came first, the chicken or the chicken egg? Now,
so I want to preface this. I used to be which came first, the chicken or the egg, and of course, egg always won because dinosaurs.
Right.
So that's why I reworded it to be more
chicken
correct.
Or the chicken egg, which I think most people already meant that when they
I
said
think
it.
so, but where Smart Alex answered it the other way at work.
Especially the listeners at this damn show are going to be like, oh, technically. People like Daniel will email me.
English.
Yeah. People will email me like Daniel and go, well, no, the egg existed. Yep,
Fewer poisonous venoms,
This is one of the things that, I think this comes down to my sandwich talk. Where these things are on a sliding scale. Yes, I don't care what you and your little fancy books have to say about it. You
don't get to say maybe.
At the end of the day, if you were to see something that was 99.97 chicken, you would probably call it a chicken. You would not know that it's this close to being a chicken. What is a chicken? What does it really even mean? So there are humans that have such massive differences, but we're all still humans. I take issue with your stereotypical racist question. That's my answer to you, Donovan.
All right, we'll go to turkey. So, do you have an answer? What do you think? You don't want to pick one?
I don't have anything to add to that.
You don't want to pick one?
I mean,
there is an answer.
In your world of belief, maybe.
I totally agree with you.
I'm going to say,
my God, the people who don't even listen to the show answered this faster than you.
Well, but they don't have a microphone in front of themselves on live radio with everybody knowing their email address. So let's just clear that up right now.
Yeah, but that's what everybody loves about this
they can
segment.
just type it in there anonymously. Chicken, egg. Yeah, I bet you can. So, I mean, for me, whatever came out of that egg had to be the first chicken in order to lay the first chicken egg. So
he's going like old school. You're going to do that back and forth, aren't you?
I am. What's the answer?
The answer is scientists finally concluded that the chicken came first, not the egg. This is because only hens produce the protein that makes those eggshells. So the only place the proteins exist to make those kinds of eggshells come from hens. So the first chicken egg had to come from a chicken. There was no other way to
came first.
Right.
That's what I just said.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know when you're going to recognize my genius here, Donovan. I don't know. I don't know when that's going to happen. Thank you, Donovan.
You're welcome.
For another segment of Fact Check Yo Mama. Coming up next, Libertarian Basics. Is David Smalley a secret libertarian? First, let's get caught up on the news with John Karff.
And now, it's news for the fourth listener with John Karff.
This is News for the Fourth Listener, brought to you by Secular News Network and sponsored by Tiny Thinkers Science Books for Kids. The campaign is already publishing the first book with 2 to go. You can help change the world and enjoy some great rewards, including one where you can co-host a Dogma Debate with David Smalley, do the news live, and even have yourself or your child drawn into the book. All that and much more is available at GoFundMe.com/TinyThinkers. In an interview with Catholic News Network last week, Republican presidential candidate Ben Carson, showing an amazing misunderstanding of what transgender actually means, called protection for transgender people and marriage rights extra rights for a few people who perhaps are abnormal, warning that if the next president's Supreme Court nominees protect LGBT rights, you can say goodbye to America.
I don't have any problem with gay people doing anything they want to do. It's a free country. However, when you now impose your value system on everybody else, I have a big problem with that. Everybody is equal. Everybody has equal rights, but nobody gets extra rights. And when we start trying to impose the extra rights based on a few people who perhaps are abnormal, where does that lead? So, boys who say, I feel like a girl today, I want to go in the girls' lavatory, that is such a bunch of garbage. And, if we continue to cater to that, where will it lead? What will it lead us to be? We are absolutely destroying ourselves because we are paying attention to political correctness, and the majority needs to stand up. I can't emphasize it strongly enough. Our time is running out. If we don't stand up for principles now, and we get a progressive and they get 2 or 3 Supreme Court picks, say goodbye to America.
So, in what he's saying here, when he says that a boy might feel like a girl one day and a boy the next so that he could choose which bathroom to use, is that he is exposing his complete ignorance on the subject. Speaking about things about which he has no grasp or understanding seems to be his new campaign tactic. How's that working for you, Ben? Continuing. Last week, many media outlets absolutely fell for the fake tweet that Ammon Bundy, the leader of the militia that seized a federal building in Oregon, tweeted a comparison between himself and Rosa Parks. That Twitter account was fake. However, in a radio interview last Sunday with Patriot Movement radio host David Hodges on the Common Sense Show, the real Ammon Bundy did indeed strike a comparison between his actions and the black civil rights movement, along with the women's rights movement and the Founding Fathers.
There has been a complete exhaustion of prudent methods, including through the court, and just as our founders taught, this is the right way to do it. This is the way in which our founders did it. This is the way in which the black community got their right. It's the way in which the women receive their right, and it's the way in which rights are protected and defended. And so I encourage those to go back in history and determine how things are really done. But this has opened up a dialogue that basically, if they spoke about before, they would have to worry about retribution, about being punished for it. And now they feel free to talk and to discuss.
So my guess is, had he had more time, he would have compared his actions to Jesus in Gethsemane. There are very few limits to their delusions. Finally, yesterday on the 700 Club, Pat Robertson got a question from a young viewer who wanted to know if it is a sin to listen to rock music. Listen to Pat explain what listening to the wrong music can actually do.
This is Shannon, who says, hi, I'm 14, and I grew up listening to rock music. I love Christian music too, but I find myself not letting go of my rock music because that's what I was born listening to. So can I listen to both rock and Christian music? Please help.
It depends on what rock you're listening to. I mean, some of the stuff is just evil. They used to talk about kill your parents, and they were just some evil things, and they were odes to Satan, and so you don't want that stuff coming into your mind. There's some beat that's out there that, probably isn't all that bad, although in one Indian context they were playing rock music, and the person said, why are you calling on the demons? Because that was the kind of music they used to summon demons.
Summoning demons, yep. He said you are summoning demons when you listen to rock music because apparently rock music is the elevator to hell. So, this week, Ben Carson is astoundingly ignorant of what a transgender human being is. Ammon Bundy says holding federal land with guns is what women and blacks did to get their rights. And old reliable Pat Robertson doesn't want you summoning demons with your crazy rock music. Get off the lawn. You may facepalm now. This has been News for the Fourth Listener, brought to you by Secular News Network and sponsored by Tiny Thinkers, science books for kids. The campaign is already publishing the first book with 2 to go. You can help change the world and enjoy some great rewards, including one where you can co-host a Dogma Debate with David Smalley, do the news live, and even have yourself or your child drawn into the book. All that and much more is available at GoFundMe.com/TinyThinkers. For Secular News Network, I'm John Carr.
If God exists, he would have got rid of commercials years ago. Download Dogma Debate with no commercials by signing up at login.dogmadebate.com.
Dogma Debate.
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 Dogma Debate with David Smalley.
The original totalitarian proposition is that we can refer all our difficulties, all our wishes, all our desires, all our hopes, all our dreads and fears to an unalterable dictatorship, a celestial North Korea in the sky that supervises us from dawn till dusk, that subjects us to constant surveillance while we're asleep, before we are born, after we are dead, and that not until we can get rid of this diseased desire for dictatorship, this hatred of our own freedom, this wish for tyranny in our own heads, do we stand the smallest chance of emancipating ourselves, our children, our allies, our friends, our comrades, and our descendants from the horror, the hell of dictatorship and mass murder in the here and now. I rest my case. Thank you.
Here's an excerpt from Mum, Dad, I'm an Atheist by David G. McAfee.
It is the same highly regarded concept of an afterlife that allows misguided religious people to justify the mistreatment of those who disagree with their religious ideologies. They are simply trying to protect you from eternal damnation in the afterlife by condemning you, insulting you, and even disowning you in this life. It is not to say that becoming open about your disbelief is always going to be met with these negative reactions, and, in fact, that is precisely what this work is hoping to prevent. But it is important to understand that if you experience negative reactions from religious kin, it is probably a result from the religion's teachings, and likely not from any personal vendetta or hatred.
Find this audiobook and many more at atheistaudiobooks.com. The facts you won't hear in church.
Welcome back to Dogma Debate, where we're always on time for breaks. Trust me, there's not any sort of issues going on here at all.
I don't understand.
Okay,
What's that mean?
What do you mean?
What does that mean, David? There's no issues.
Well, you know, that we always have what? We were earlier today and we said, we have 7 minutes and we're early. And your comment is always, that means we have 7 minutes to be 5 minutes late. That's just the way it always works. So, now for the very laid-back, non-pressure part of the show. Well, for me anyway. This guy's probably nervous. I don't know. Are you nervous?
Yeah, this is my first radio interview ever, so
okay.
I'm a little...
Well, I mean, you've listened to the show for a long time, so
yeah.
you practically know me, right?
Yeah.
So this is friendly waters here.
He did great in the fact check segment. You were awesome, so you don't worry about it. You got it licked already.
Yeah, you got it licked. So things are going great for you already. So I have here on the run sheet that we're going to talk about libertarian basics and the proper role of government. So I just basically I've been told for years now that the listeners think I'm libertarian. I've heard people have said that to me.
I think I've even told you a couple of times at like the American Atheist Convention a couple of years ago. I mentioned it to you.
You've said that you think I have libertarian leanings, I think.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that? And let's find out if that's true, because let's just do a little quick Q&A. I mean, you ask me a couple of things. Like if I was saying, hey, I would like to join Libertarian Party, do you have like a thing like where you go, well, do you agree with this, and this? Is there a brief manifesto you have to agree to in order to join your cult? Or
sort of. It's not. I wouldn't call it cult. But
I know you wouldn't.
There's sort of like some basic tenets that that a libertarian would say
hit me with some of them.
So the basic foundation of libertarianism would be something called the non-aggression principle. That is the idea that the individual is sovereign. You own yourself. You own your body. You have a right to do with your life and your body whatever you want, as long as it does not infringe on another person's right to do the same thing. And
this is so Penn is libertarian, right?
Yeah.
I remember my conversation with him now. It's all coming back to me. I should have watched that interview before today. It would have brought me back because we argued about something. I forgot what it was. But okay, so I guess what you're talking about is a situation like serving someone alcohol when you know they are clearly inebriated. If someone is standing at a bar, staggering drunk, they have a $20 bill in their hand, and they say, give me a shot of do you, as the bartender, do you think that bartender should be required to serve that person? Or, because, hey, he's his own dude. If he wants to continue ordering, should we allow that? What's your take on that?
Well, I don't think that's something the government necessarily should be involved in. If the bar owner has a policy that they want to put in place in their establishment, that if a person clearly looks drunk, that there's a certain point that they should be cut off, that's within the manager's rights to implement that policy. But as far as the government coming in and saying that has to be a certain point, that's where a libertarian would draw the line.
Okay, so your non-aggression policy is strictly about the government's non-aggression. Individual businesses can discriminate at will, and you don't have an issue with that because those are sovereign individuals.
Well, you should just distinguish between aggression and discrimination. They're not the same thing.
Okay.
So aggression would be so through the non-aggression principle, you own your life, and for someone to aggress on your life is murder or attempted murder. For someone to aggress on your liberty would be slavery.
Okay.
For someone to aggress against your property is theft.
Okay.
That's like you physically harming me or stealing from me. That's all that would fall under what we would call aggression.
Okay.
But discrimination, if it doesn't physically harm you, if it doesn't take your stuff, then
what I'm saying is the guy standing at the bar who's drunk. And the store owner or the bar owner says, I'm not going to serve you because you're drunk. Could he not accuse that bar owner of aggressing against his civil liberties to, drink alcohol as an adult?
I don't think so, because I think it would be within that bartender's rights to make that make that
Okay,
decision.
so
if the person wants to go home and drink themselves to death, that's within their rights to do.
So in a situation where a man gets really, really drunk and then drives and crashes his car, doesn't hurt anybody else, just flips his car several times in a ditch and hurts himself and his own property, are there any criminal charges from a libertarian perspective?
So, I mean, this is something that, libertarians could probably argue a number of things, because you could argue that by getting on the road, driving drunk, that is in some way aggressing against other people on the highway.
Not until you hit them.
Well, I mean, there can be an argument made that by putting other people at a higher risk, that could be considered an aggression to some extent.
I mean, if you're, I don't know. From what you just told me, as a libertarian, I would argue no, that they're not aggressing unless they actually hit someone.
And
that's why I'm asking. So then the law would have to, basically, the reason these laws exist is because people continue to be allowed to do them, and they were hurting people over and over. So a law came down to go, from now on, here's the alcohol level where you can't drive at. So are you saying that as a libertarian you do not support the blood alcohol level?
Well,
because that's if that guy wants to drink and if that guy wants to drive, it's up to him, and whatever he causes is on him? Or I'm trying to figure out where you draw the line there.
I mean, as far as the blood alcohol level, that part is kind of arbitrary. There are some people that can drive at a 0.08, 0.09, 0.1 or whatever, and they're perfectly fine to drive. But if you take like 10 shots of vodka and you try to drive home, if you make it, then some would say you're just lucky. But I think there is a reasonable case to be made that is still that's putting other people on the highway at an unreasonable risk, and so. I mean, it's like the sliding scale thing. It's not just a black or white. This is aggression. This is non-aggression. So, in a way, I think there's an argument for what you just said. You can get on the highway. You can not hurt anybody. Just crash your own car, and that's your own property is destroyed. You didn't hurt anybody else, so it's not aggression. That. You can argue that, but there's also libertarians that would argue the opposite, like what I just said.
Okay. So, and this is so you got the non-aggression principle. What else would fall into that category, other than the things I've mentioned of serving someone that's? Because so far it doesn't sound like you've said anything that I think anybody would really disagree with. I mean, if the company owner can say, "I'm not going to serve you because you're too drunk."
But what if the company owner gets prosecuted by the attorney for not turning him away?
Right. So the guy keeps serving him.
Yep.
The policy, the company, good point on him. And so the bar owner continues serving this guy, and then he leaves and gets in his car and hurts somebody. They not only sue the man who drove, but then they also sue the bar owner for continuing to serve a man that they knew was not thinking clearly. Do you think that bar owner should be held liable?
I don't think the bar owner should, because it's not his decision to make or it's not his judgment to decide whether or not that guy maybe he's going to call an Uber or call a taxi.
He just saw the guy walk out the door. He may not know if he's driving or going to go outside and vomit and pass out.
Mean, I don't think if the bar owner wanted to go outside and watch the guy and see if he gets in his own car and starts to drive away and then calls the cops, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that.
This is an interesting topic. I mean, this could get really deep because
you're asking things that we're kind of getting away from libertarian basics and kind of into a gray area
that's where I live, is in a gray area.
Yeah,
that's
but when you
even wore his color today.
When you mix in the business aspect of it, like government interfering in businesses.
Yeah, that's what I have for the next segment. So let's save that for let the market decide, because there are some things that not Rand Paul, but his daddy.
Mm-hmm. Ron
Paul. He had some things to say in the last election that I found shocking that I want to ask you about. But let's go ahead and go on with the What are the principles? What are some of the other basics?
So there's really like 5 kind of central tenets. These are not like official or anything, but you have limited government, individual rights over communal rights. So the individual.
What does that mean?
That means the individual person's rights come above the rights of any collective group. So you like my rights as an individual are more important than the rights of any ethnic group or social class or anything like that as a collective group. So like it's kind of people like to say we live in a democracy, but we don't. It's a
democratic republic. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because a true democracy is 51% of the population dictating what the other 49% can or can't do, and so that's really infringing on the individual rights of that 49% that aren't in the majority.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
So that's what individual rights over collective rights means.
Okay, the first way you described it was a little scary, but the second way you wrapped it up made it seem a little easier to take. I'll let you go on and continue before I ask more questions.
The next thing is tolerance. That is, you don't interfere with something that someone else is doing just because you disagree with it.
Okay.
And then the right to freely associate. That's contracts. You can enter into contracts with whoever you want, voluntary agreements between 2 or more people.
What if those contracts break the law?
Like how?
Like you convince me to sign a contract that you get 30 minutes on my show, and if for whatever reason you don't make it, then I have to give you my house and my child. And I sign the contract. It's between you and I. We agree to it. And then I give you 27 minutes instead of 30, and you go, well, now Talissa and your home belong to me. I mean, if it's a ridiculous, outrageous agreement, and then I want to go, well, I wasn't in the right state of mind, or I didn't think this would ever happen, or I thought this was ridiculous. For these outlandish agreements that people do make, and that crazy stuff does happen, where people give children away, or, does that then fall under, well, no, that's an individual right of that child, and you can't just give that child away. I mean...
Well, yeah, when you bring children into it, that's another, kind of hairy area, but there are libertarian philosophers that can argue cases like what you just said about transferring the ownership of a person. That's slavery, and you can't do that. That would be invalid.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of one. I thought of another one too, but that would involve harming an individual if they don't commit. If they don't live up to whatever agreement you had. So I don't.
Yeah.
So the tolerance thing. So when we hear Rand or Ron talk about anti-gay stuff, isn't that not practicing tolerance?
Can you give me a specific example?
Oh, Rand isn't for gay marriage.
Anti-abortion.
See, the thing is, I know Ron Paul and Rand Paul are both Christians, and I believe they're both on record as saying they don't agree with the idea of gay marriage, but as a libertarian, you wouldn't want the government to be involved in that anyway. So the argument is that even though you may not personally agree with that idea, the government should not be involved in the practice of regulating that. That marriage should be
so government shouldn't even be involved with marriage at all.
Right, but marriage should just be a private contract between 2 people.
See, I got to tell you, I've said that for a while. And that's something that, chalk one up for libertarians. Okay. I've said that for a while, that I don't think that the government should be involved in that. However, what about tax benefits and insurance stuff? I mean, basically any 2 people who go, we are married, should be able to get whatever benefits the government offers, because the government does offer, well, depending on who you talk to.
They charge you more money, but supposedly you get other benefits.
Right. Sometimes, I read this article once that said 7 tax reasons you should never get married.
Right.
Where you think you're saving money, but you're actually penalized. And, of course, Joey would have to be here to talk about that. But
hey, I was engaged for 13 years for some of those reasons.
There's the whole issue with taxation for that. Libertarians are against taxation.
Period?
Pretty much.
Can you expound on that a
little?
Yeah, I'm surprised you hadn't asked me about that
actually
yet.
It's on the list.
Yeah.
Right here.
But so taxation falls under theft, because it's basically it's the government coming to your house. I mean, not literally, but almost, coming to your house with a gun and taking your money. If you don't pay your taxes, they're going to fine you. If you don't pay the fine, they're going to send somebody to your house. That person's going to have a gun, and they're going to try to get you to pay. And if you don't pay, they're going to forcefully take you out of your house and put you in a cage. And if you don't voluntarily go with them, they'll shoot you.
Okay, that's actually not true. I don't know of anyone who has been jailed for not paying taxes. I know them being jailed for lying on their taxes. So there's a distinction.
Tax evasion?
Well,
Wesley Snipes?
Didn't he lie on his taxes?
Oh, I thought he just didn't pay them. I don't know the answer to that, and we can't really use that as an
we're
example.
we're not qualified to answer that. But I know I've had someone tell me directly that deals in that industry that you don't get arrested for not paying, you get arrested for lying. So if you just don't file, that's not the same as lying.
If think about this, if you're just a regular person working a 9-to-5 job and you have to file your taxes at the end of the year, you've already paid your taxes.
Yeah, they've already taken the money.
So you're really filing your tax forms to try and get a partial refund. And when you get that refund, that's not you getting money back from the government. You basically just gave the government an interest-free loan for a year.
Okay.
Depending on your number of deductions and so forth. Some people pay, some people don't.
Right, yeah, but what about all the stuff that they do with the tax money? I know you've been asked this question before. The medical research that goes into that, the percentage of the money that goes into our defense fund to fund the military and all this sorts of stuff. What about all the money what about all the things it goes to provide for citizens?
So the majority of the tax money gets spent on things like entitlements, like Social Security and Medicare. That's where most of it's going. And then a big chunk of it goes to the military, like you said. But what a libertarian would say is we shouldn't be, our military shouldn't be so massive where we're in, so many other countries and getting involved in other countries' affairs, trying to topple dictatorships and install our own democracies. We have this idea that we want to spread democracy around the world. We want to, go into Iraq and get Saddam Hussein, oust him from power and put in our own, or we want to turn that country into a republic like what we have, but the culture over there doesn't support that. And when you remove a dictator like that, it just creates a power vacuum, and it gets filled by even worse people. That's what's happening. That's what happened in Iraq. It happened in Libya, in Egypt, and now we're talking about having it happen in Syria. That's every single time we do that. That's
I played a clip a couple of shows ago of Rand saying that, and I stopped and said, that part of what he's saying makes sense. I think I get that. I get that. We look at someone like Saddam Hussein and go, "What a horrible guy! Let's get him out of there." Yeah, he's a horrible guy. I get it. Do we have the full infrastructure in place? Are we prepared for what happens afterward? And I think we've made some mistakes. At the same time, when someone like Assad is, gassing, half of his country, it's horrible to just watch a leader say, "You can't leave, and we're going to murder a certain percentage of you." It's like watching Hitler all over again. What if we had never got involved in that and went in and stopped Hitler from what he was doing? So I don't think it's fair to say we should never topple a dictator, but I also think it's also a fair criticism to say we go stick our nose in stuff that maybe we shouldn't sometimes. And I don't know where that line is right now, but I definitely see that being an issue. I think it's an important point. I don't know.
Can I go back to one more? You hit individualism, and then you hit the other one I just brought up about the tolerance.
Oh.
So abortion.
Yeah, that's an issue that libertarians are actually kind of split 50-50 on that.
Because it breaks both items.
Yeah, and I've heard libertarians, both religious and secular libertarians, argue for both sides. It's weird. Like
so where do you fall on that on abortion?
So personally, I think that abortion should be legal. To an extent, maybe up till the third trimester or something. I'm not sure where exactly I would draw that line, but I do see the importance of having it being a legitimate option available. I don't think that federal funding should be going to Planned Parenthood. that doesn't mean that I necessarily want Planned Parenthood to close.
Why? Why do you think Planned Parenthood should not get federal funding?
Because it's when you provide federal funding to any business or service or anything, it should be something that everyone would voluntarily buy themselves.
What do you mean, everyone? How can you possibly determine?
So, I want to kind of back up a little bit with that.
Of course.
So, when you, I'm not sure how I want to approach this exactly.
It's okay. We do this to everybody. You take your time.
Yeah, I enjoy making people uncomfortable. It's okay.
So, federal funding should provide. Well, it should provide equally.
Federal funding goes to Planned Parenthood because it subsidizes healthcare costs for women who can't afford it. It also allows people to get things done that they may not be able to go to their doctor and get done. There are women who say, hey, I would like to be on birth control, but their staunch Catholic doctor says, no, I don't believe in that, so I refuse to prescribe it. So rather than going to an out-of-network doctor and having to pay all this money out of pocket, they can go to Planned Parenthood and get the health care needs they have. Why would you not want that to be funded by the federal government?
Because the money from the federal government comes from taxpayers. And so when you fund something with taxpayer money, it's forcing people who don't want to buy something to pay for it, to pay for something they don't want.
Well, I mean,
it's the idea that you don't.
But look, just because you put a little bit of money in the pot, and I do mean a very little bit.
I know it's a little bit.
Doesn't mean you have say so over everything that happens. We are a collective. We are a society. We live together, and look. The Boy Scouts get federal funding, and I don't agree with half the stuff they do.
And I don't think any group should get federal funding at all.
And also, how do you define federal funding? What if they get, look, for example, a church. I can say I don't think a church should get federal funding. Well, if there's some big national food bank and the food bank sends a truckload of cheese to a church to use in their soup kitchen, is that a donation from the federal government? Should we say, no, that church isn't allowed to get cheese? Hell no, they should be allowed to get cheese. Don't stop them from getting food from the federal government to feed homeless people who are coming in there. So I guess how would you define funding?
Well, I mean, I don't see how something like that why would that need to come from the federal government? Why would that be something that the government needs to provide?
It's not that they need to, it's just that they do. They already do. And we know that money that is going into our government is used to pay for things like that. And there are certain parts of the budget that are used to subsidize cost of foods. When we did our fundraiser here for the senior center a couple of years ago, we were able to feed 60 seniors for 13 months with it was like,
I forget now, but it wasn't very much money.
It was like $2,000 or $3,000. I mean, it was
like $2 or $1.50 a day would feed them for the whole day.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It was some ridiculous amount, and that's all because of government subsidies, food that was donated to government entities who were taking food in, donations. Let's say Walmart had a whole pallet of stuff that the forklift driver dropped, and they were called damaged goods. The food inside it is perfectly fine. You know what they do with those smashed boxes of cornflakes? They put them all in a box, and they take them over to food banks, and they donate them because they can't put them on shelves. The food is still good. The packaging's destroyed. Most people aren't going to buy them. Let's donate it. So because it's donated, they can then sell it at the cost of whatever it costs to stick a barcode on it and put it in a warehouse, which is cents on the dollar. So that's why. I mean, our paid government officials run the food banks. As a matter of fact, the delivery driver that goes from the food banks to the senior centers and the food banks to the food pantries, those were government employees. And that's why I got the phone call, because during the government shutdown, that guy wasn't making the deliveries, and we had to get involved to feed the seniors at the shelter.
See, yeah, I mean, you can say that, yeah, the government does do some good things with that kind of money, but I would say that that there's no need for the government to do that. If that government food bank wasn't there would, like you said, that
people would starve to death.
No, because
Why not?
Because this food falls off the pallet, it's damaged goods, it gets donated. Well, if the food bank wasn't there, they wouldn't just throw it away because...
Well,
I mean...
You know what I think would happen, and I think you know this. I think the majority of it, if the federal government didn't do this, people would rely on churches to do these sort of things. And we see this happening in disasters. This is happening right now in this tornado area that we're working in. We're constantly working with people in churches to make things happen. In fact, people usually think we are with a church because we're there to help. Mm-hmm. So I have an issue with that. And then, you know what? Your free box of food comes with a lesson about Jesus Christ and how the reason this tornado hit you is because your blessings aren't good enough. You should probably tithe more. Here's some Frosted Flakes. I'm not okay with that. So I think, to me, the federal government is a viable secular option to help people in need who don't want to be bothered with the church.
Yeah, I mean...
and when we've talked before, you said that that's a concern for libertarians, that they kind of go back to that, right? It's kind of one of their fallback answers as well. We have churches in the community that can help with that.
That's a concern for me. Like I kind of share that concern with you because, you know, I am an atheist. I don't think that... I don't like the idea of, you know, religion spreading around, proselytizing, all that. But at the same time, if they're free to practice their faith, then that... proselytizing is something they should be free to do.
I agree with that.
Yep.
I absolutely agree with that.
100%.
So I'm not sure what the issue is.
Well, the issue is if we stop the federal government from doing that and we say no more tax dollars, don't subsidize our food, we don't need your help. Talk about a void. We're going to have the same situation you talked about with toppling dictators. There's going to be a void. And even worse people are going to take over.
I don't see how.
And that's going to be how the churches and the Mormon church will swoop in and say, hey, join us and we'll give you food as long as you tithe, how much we say, when we say, get married when we say, sleep with who we say.
If
they come with strings attached.
Yeah, if they put conditions on it like that, then it's not really...
Well,
you're not going to stop that,
Daniel, they don't openly say, you can have this box of food if you do what we say. They give you the food. And say, anytime you have any issues, come back to us. By the way, we didn't see you at church Sunday. Where have you been? What's going on? The dog's barking. Yeah, so where have you been? Where are you going? When are you going to be here next time? How much have you paid in your tithing? You know what I mean? That's the type of issue that I want to stay away from. The government is a secular alternative to churches helping in the communities. And I don't mind churches helping in the communities. I'm not saying...
No, we worked with one on the senior
We
thing.
worked with... I mean, Doug Kriz and I have worked together on multiple things.
Great.
John Christie and I have worked together on stuff. I have no problem working with religious... I just had... Larry Decker on the show, who is a Christian helping run Secular Coalition for America. I obviously don't care about working with Christians. I'm saying I don't want them to be the only alternative to help. And so so us providing help through our federal government, I think, is very responsible. I don't understand why you would want that to go away.
I mean, that's, to be honest, that would be something low on the list of priorities as something to get rid of. You
okay.
Know,
do you have anything more on your list there? Because I'm starting to have a lot of questions for you.
You know, the last point, well, it's kind of, we already talked about it, is just free markets.
Okay. So the free market is what I want to talk to you about coming up next in the extended show. Because, and don't answer this now, I'm going to take a short break. This part of the show is going to end. Join us on the extended show to hear the rest. What I really want to get into, we just don't have room on iHeartRadio version of this show. What I want to get into is Ron Paul said that he believed, don't answer this now, that he believed that restaurants and stores should be able to hang signs out front that say no blacks allowed. And that should be allowed because, you know what? Let the market decide. Because when people see that and they refuse to go to that store and that topples that restaurant, people will learn their lesson, and that's not okay. And that'll be okay for that business to fail. Don't respond now, but I want to get your take on that, about how much should the government be involved with that aspect? How much should the government be involved in the capitalism or the free market overall? We'll talk about that and more in the extended show. Remember, as I said last week, our new shows are 90 minutes because we were noticing a lot of the shows were skipping on iHeartRadio. There would be episode 200 and then episode 204 and then episode 212, and we're like, how come these aren't going in order? Lo and behold, it's because the shows were too long. So I said, okay, we've got to shorten the shows. We've got to go to 90 minutes to fit on the iHeartRadio portion of the show. It's not a separate show. It's all going to still keep going. People are watching video right now at login.dogmadebate.com. They're active in the chat room. You can get the full extended show, and our app is about to come out any day, and you're going to be able to stream the entire thing from the phone. So sign up at login.dogmadebate.com. It's $4 a month. You're talking $1 an episode. You're going to pay $1 for $1.29 for a song on iTunes that's 3 minutes long. So this is an entire show. You're talking about almost a 3-hour program, if not more, depending on how much this guy is going to argue with me today. But yeah, I definitely want to talk about the free market. To what level should we allow companies to discriminate? I want to talk about that. I want to talk about Hobby Lobby. I want to talk about religious organizations. We have so much more to get to in the extended show. So sign up at login.dogmadebate.com for more. We're taking a quick break. We'll be right back with Daniel right after this.
Download Dogma Debate with no commercials by signing up at login.dogmadebate.com. Come on, do it now.
Here's an excerpt from Atheist Mind, Humanist Heart by Lex Baer and John Figdor.
The light outside the window was casting a faint yellow glow on the frosted glass, but I wasn't focused on the still beauty of this Christmas night. Instead, crouched at the top of the stairs like a cat burglar, I peeked through the banister towards the living room. Muted conversation filtered up the stairs, along with some rustling in our downstairs hall closet, just out of view. I crept down 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, like a ninja in footy pajamas, until at last the hall closet came into view. I saw my mom and dad chatting quietly as they retrieved the Christmas presents from their secret hiding spot in the closet and placed them under the tree in our living room. I crouched in the shadows, my heart beating out of my chest. I'd just caught my parents in flagrante delicto putting presents under the tree. I gloated silently. I had definitive proof I could share with my friends. I wouldn't say that disbelieving in Santa made me an atheist, but it did make me realize 3 things. First, things aren't always what they seem or what people say they are. Second, supernatural explanations are suspect. And finally, if you really want to find out the truth, you can't just go asking other people. You have to investigate for yourself. That Christmas night episode was the first of a long series of insights that slowly transitioned me from a believing Christian to an atheist.
This book is the result of our combined efforts to fill the void of disbelief that remains after a rejection of God by answering the questions: what should one believe after abandoning faith? And what are the positive principles of atheism? We have decided to answer these challenges in an unorthodox way by updating the 10 Commandments to a version for the 21st century, a version that reflects modern secular thought, science, psychology, and philosophy, a version that is intellectually rigorous but easily understandable, reflecting both the atheist mind and the humanist heart.
Atheist Mind, Humanist Heart. Find this audiobook and many more at atheistaudiobooks.com. The facts you won't hear in church.
Chapter 2, we did swarmy things that swarmeth, creepy things that creepeth, all that, all the beasts of the field, made man. Different method there. He could have said, let there be man. There would have been man, definitely. But he made him out of some dust just because he can. Well, we don't think we'll do that. Ooh, right, done. It's a man. What, do you want a woman? Yeah, you can make out of some dust. No, one of your ribs.
The conversation continues on Facebook.com/Dogma Debate. Seek the truth and free your mind at dogmadebate.com.